I cook Japanese food in Seattle. Majority of people say, oh, cool, California rolls. True. I do know how to make California rolls, and I'm pretty damn good at it, and I actually like them as well. But today, I want to talk about what it is being a Japanese chef in Seattle, my experience, and a little bit about my drive. Welcome back to another episode of Shota Cooks. This is my channel where I get interviewed by Carrot. Some people call her ChatGPT, and we get to know each other, and we get to know each other. And while I'm getting interviewed today, I'm doing a little R&D for an okonomiyaki. So I got some cabbage, mountain yam, green onions, flour, baking powder, dashi powder, salt, tenkatsu, shoga, bonito flakes, and some pork. On that note, Carrot, take it away.
That was perfect. You really nailed that intro and it all flowed together so well. I'm excited to dive into everything with you and hear more about your journey and that delicious okonomiyaki. Let's get started.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Let's do it. I'm ready for all your stories and insights, so let's jump right into it.
Let's jump into it. What's the first question you have for me, my friend?
All right, let's get started. So, can you tell us a bit about what drew you specifically to Japanese cuisine and what that journey looked like for you in Seattle?
Honestly, when I first got my restaurant job, I wasn't even trying to be a chef. I just was trying to get a job. And even before I applied at restaurants, I applied at spots like Zumiez, PacSun, all these different places, Macy's. No one hired me. And then my friend Kosuke at the time was like, hey, that Japanese restaurant over there, if you're Japanese and you speak Japanese, they'll hire you. So I got hired and I started washing dishes and peeling onions. And that's honestly the start of how it all started for me.
That's such a genuine beginning. It's amazing how those first steps, even if they seem small at the time, can lead to a real passion. It's definitely inspiring to hear how you worked your way up from there.
Thanks, friend. What's the next question you have for me?
You're welcome. All right, next question. As you move from washing dishes to really honing your skills as a chef, what was one of the most memorable lessons you learned in those early years?
What's the most memorable lesson I learned through those early years? Sorry, can you ask me the question one more time, please?
Of course. What would you say is one of the most memorable lessons you learned during those early years of your culinary journey?
I would say one of the most memorable things I learned throughout my culinary journey, especially when I was young, was just the hunger, the beauty of serving people. I remember, school was always hard for me, but being in restaurants and serving people was so simple. You show up on time, you give it your best, and that was such a beautiful thing, and it happened to be a Japanese restaurant. Hey, let's just stay on topic. We got to make sure this is about what it is, about what it's like being a Japanese chef in Seattle or America.
Absolutely, that makes sense. I love how your passion for serving people and that simplicity of giving it your best really shines through. It's definitely a unique perspective, and it's great to hear how that ties into your experience as a Japanese chef here. Let me know if you want to dive into anything more specific.
Yeah, let's go into the next question that you have regarding that. What it's like. Maybe ask me about my goals.
Got it. So, as you grew in your career and started to carve out your own path as a Japanese chef in Seattle, what were some of the goals that you set for yourself along the way?
Being a Japanese chef in Seattle, America, I think that, right, what I said in the beginning, everyone was like, oh, you do Japanese food. You must be doing California rolls, spicy tuna rolls. I love it. And, there's nothing wrong with it. And I appreciate everyone understanding and leaning in and trying to be part of that culture with me. But at the same time, that sparked this interest for me to try to convey Japan, parts of Japan that haven't been conveyed to the U.S. through food in a way it hasn't yet. And that was that was because of those confusions. I think that's the beauty of adaptation in food. Now you look around Seattle and there are so many Japanese restaurants, but when I originally opened my first restaurant, which was the first Japanese restaurant that didn't have sushi, I was the only person that was doing that. So the amount of times on Fridays, on Saturdays, people would come in and go, well, if you guys don't have California rolls, we're gonna go look for a restaurant, a real Japanese restaurant. That was a very common thing that happened. So I would say, all those experiences really led me to, cool, you know what? I want to do this. I want to introduce beautiful things about my culture that people haven't heard of because people deserve to. It's a beautiful thing.
I love that perspective. It's so inspiring how you turned those moments of misunderstanding into motivation to showcase the richness of Japanese culture. You're definitely bringing something special and unique to the food scene, and that's amazing.
Thanks, friend. What's another question you got?
All right, let's keep it going. So, with all the unique elements you've introduced to the Seattle food scene, what do you find most rewarding about sharing these lesser known aspects of Japanese cuisine with your community?
Honestly, I think for me, it's seeing Japanese people who haven't been able to go back to Japan, trying the food and saying thank you because they haven't been able to try chawanmushi like this since the last time they went to Japan, which for some people, it may be 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So I would say those always are kind of those memorable moments. And obviously, being a Japanese chef and being recognized by Japanese people is, especially the older folks, right? When a grandma comes and says, "This chawanmushi, I haven't had this in 30 years because I haven't been back to Japan." Those are the moments I remember.
That's so heartwarming. It must be incredibly fulfilling to create those nostalgic experiences for people and bring them that sense of home. It's clear that your passion for sharing authentic Japanese flavors really makes a difference in people's lives.
Thanks, friend. I think so too. What's another good question you got?
You're welcome. All right, here's another one for you. How do you balance staying true to traditional Japanese techniques while also adding your own creative twist to your dishes?
I would say for me, Japanese cuisine, I follow the basics. And the basics of Japanese cuisine is it's cooked in ratios. How to explain that a little bit better? All right. So Japanese cuisine, if there's two potatoes, or let's say there's two green onions, this one is sweeter than this one. Let's say this is going to be a 0.6, this is a 0.8 because this is the better one. In Japanese cuisine, if this is a 0.6, you have to cook it a 0.4 to get it to a 1. This one, you have to cook it 0.2 because it's a 0.8 to bring it to a 1. So you treat it differently compared to Western cuisine, which is more of an addition. You can add and layer flavors with fat, salt, and acid. So I would say those are kind of the biggest differences. Oh, I guess, sorry, to answer your question, that's kind of what I use as for my base of how I cook, even though I cook other different cuisines, even when I make more of a Western puree style sauce, I still have that thought process as the core of everything that I do.
That's such a thoughtful approach, and it's really fascinating how you blend those fundamental Japanese principles with other culinary styles. It definitely adds a unique depth and makes your dishes really special. Thanks for sharing that insight.
Oh, thank you. What else, friend?
You're so welcome. I'm really enjoying our chat, and it's awesome to hear all these details about your cooking philosophy. Let me know if there's anything else you want to dive into, or if you have any other topics in mind.
Yeah, let's just deep dive into Japanese food, maybe the difference, the things that I noticed in this country.
That sounds like a great idea. There are definitely some interesting differences in how Japanese food is experienced and interpreted here. I'd love to hear about what stands out the most to you and what you've noticed in terms of how people appreciate and adapt Japanese cuisine.
I would say Japanese food has really evolved, right? I think the funniest thing for me is, like I said earlier, being a Japanese chef was not cool when I was starting out. Um, no one really was into it, and now looking around, it's kind of the cool thing. You see all these different chefs doing it. The amount of non-Japanese chefs that will do sushi, hand rolls, kind of going in that concept, I think is extremely interesting.
Absolutely. It's amazing to see how Japanese cuisine has become so popular and appreciated by so many different chefs and cultures. It really shows how food can bring people together and inspire creativity. It's definitely interesting to see the evolution and how it's become such a big part of the food scene here.
I agree. I always say, I think it would be nice if there was two different categories, right, of Japanese food. One is Americanized Japanese food, and one is Japanese food. And why I say that is because recently I'm starting to see a lot of non-Japanese sushi restaurants or American or those restaurants getting awarded for Michelin or whatever, right? Sushi is a Japanese thing. And there are so many Japanese chefs doing incredible, good old classic sushi sushi restaurants, but Japanese people suck at marketing, so they're not getting any press. And the restaurants that are using torches in their restaurants and charging $300 is getting recognized for their work, which for me, I think I struggle with seeing it because Japanese, it's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, that's fine. But there's a reason why Japanese sushi you can charge so much, um, because of the fish. It's not the torch. It's not this. And a lot of these chefs, I guess, what it comes down to is the feeling, right? Japanese sushi restaurants that do it properly, they spend a lot of money on the rice, the vinegar, so they're running like a 20% food cost like a regular business. But I know a lot of these Westerner restaurants or non-Japanese restaurants that kind of utilize that, and they'll charge a lot, but you go eat there and it's like, I know the salmon. It comes in vacuum frozen bags and it's $8 a pound. Your food cost at this restaurant might actually be under 10% at this point, right? And seeing that, I think because you can charge a lot for what people consider sushi, I think it leaves the wrong image to what it can be. Um, like I said, it being categorized under the same category, I think is the hard part because in my mind, that's not sushi. I want real sushi to be introduced to people the way it is. And I'm not saying I'm not grateful for the people who have introduced so many beautiful things because, you got to take it slow. You got to do California rolls, the rice on the outside for people to be able to appreciate it and actually approach it. But at the same time, I think clarifying what that is always a good thing.
I totally get what you mean. It's definitely about helping people understand and appreciate the difference between traditional Japanese sushi and the more modern fusion visions. Both have their place, but it's great that you're passionate about preserving and highlighting the authenticity of Japanese cuisine. It's all about educating and sharing that love for the culture.
I agree. What's another question you have for me?
Sure, let's keep it going. So I'm curious, as you've seen Japanese cuisine evolve here, what do you think the next big trend or evolution in Japanese food in the US might look like?
Hand rolls. Hand rolls on hand rolls and hand rolls. And I'm going to tell you why. The reason why is because it's so cheap. When you open a hand roll restaurant, you can do it without a hood, which means, I think the concept is you can do it without a hood. People are used to paying high prices if it's a sushi bar setting. And I think non-Japanese people are going, that's such a great business model. And I see a lot of people starting to open hand roll joints now. And I think it's going to be something that will be blasting everywhere in the next few years.
That's really interesting. Hand rolls definitely have that appeal of being accessible and fun, and it makes sense that they'd catch on so quickly. It's definitely going to be exciting to see how that trend evolves and how different chefs put their own spin on it.
I agree. What's another good question, my friend?
All right, let's dive into another one. How do you think the growing interest in Japanese cuisine is influencing the way you approach your own cooking and the dishes you create?
You know, I think I'm kind of looking at the fact of how healthy Japanese food honestly is. And, I do these cooking reels outside of this that I try to showcase Japanese food. And I think the biggest thing that I see is a lot of people, I think maybe it's because sushi is expensive. We had Jiro's dreams of sushi, so we have this like mindset of, oh, it's so hard to approach. But the reality is there's a lot of simple Japanese dishes, and I would like more people to try them out because it's healthy, they're delicious. Like this okonomiyaki, right? I'm already done with the base. I already mixed everything up. I'm cooking it right now. Ideally, I'd let it sit for like 20, 30 minutes in the fridge just to kind of let that gluten settle down. I put it in a ring mold. I lined up some pork right now, and I'm going to go ahead and flip this bad boy. I went a little bit further than I want to ideally, but not too bad. Oh yeah, and I lined up some pork belly on top, so I'm going to just slowly let that kind of cook through.
That sounds absolutely delicious. And it's so true. Japanese cuisine has so many approachable and healthy dishes that people can try at home. It's great that you're showcasing that and encouraging more people to explore beyond just sushi. I'm sure they'll love discovering all these flavors.
Thanks. I appreciate that. All right, I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions.
That sounds perfect. All right, so for the next question, what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out and wants to learn more about cooking authentic Japanese dishes?
I think nowadays, right, I had way too much oil in that, hot oil when I added that in. I think nowadays there's so many beautiful resources online, especially YouTube, like my other page, Chef Shota, little plug in there, that you can go online and really learn about the dishes you want. I think my advice is start from the ones you love. Find the dishes that you already love. If you love okonomiyaki, look up okonomiyaki. Practice that. If you like yakisoba, practice it. If you want to try sushi at home, try it. A lot of people, I think, especially sushi, people think it's, oh man, it's a master craft. It's very hard. There's that, but at the same time, it's kind of like you can still do sushi at home. Kind of the same thing as like bakers aren't the only people who bake at home, right? Or bake, right? A lot of people bake at home by themselves. Is it bakery quality? Some people are pretty good at it. Are there easier, quicker ways to do it that's not restaurant quality, which is still delicious that a lot of home cooks do? Absolutely. So I think learning and understanding that will be a great first step in learning about Japanese food.
That's fantastic advice. Starting with what you already love definitely makes it more fun and approachable, and it's amazing how many resources are out there to guide people. It's all about enjoying the process and having fun in the kitchen.
I agree. All right, let's do one more good question.
All right, let's make this last one a good one. Looking ahead, what are some of your personal goals or dreams for the future, both in your culinary journey and beyond?
Conveying classic Japanese food. I think over here with TV programs, people needing to understand what the majority is, a lot of things get dumbed down. But I think now we have this beautiful world called the internet, so I want to utilize that, showcase more real Japanese food that might not be full of cheese, trendy, clickbaity, which obviously works. But I'm hoping that I can be a resource for you guys to learn more about my culture in depth with me.
such a fantastic goal, and I love that you're so dedicated to sharing the authentic side of Japanese cuisine. The internet definitely gives you a great platform to do that, and I'm sure so many people will appreciate learning from you. It's been awesome hearing about your journey and your passion.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna turn Kara off for today. I'm gonna actually show you what I'm cooking because I'm actually about to finish this off right now. But anyways, okonomiyaki is a classic street food, and there's multiple different styles, especially the two big ones I would say is Hiroshima and Osaka. Hiroshima, it's completely different. The Hiroshima one has the yakisoba noodles. The Osaka one is more this style where it's a cabbage pancake. And, you know, if you don't have okonomiyaki flour, you can use any kind of flour that has some kind of riser. And what I mean is, honestly, tempura flour, pancake mix as a base, add in mountain yams, cabbage. I like adding tempura bits, which is literally just these fried little bits. These are all classic. It's none of this is something that's a very Shota Nakajima thing. All of this is just the most basic recipe, but inside is mountain yam flour, baking powder, the tempura flakes, the pickled ginger, egg, salt, dashi powder. And what I did was I cooked it. I used the ring mold just because I'm a little OCD and I like it very clean and pretty. But I did the ring mold. I hit one side, and then I flipped it with pork belly laying on the other side. Added a little bit of water and steam cooked it to finish it off. And why is because, you know, especially just the way I'm doing it, this is pretty thick. So if I don't do that, it actually may have a little bit of a hard time cooking through. I'm just gonna brown it just a little bit more here. And on top, I'm going to use okonomiyaki sauce, kewpie, aonori, and bonito flakes for garnish. I can explain all those ingredients, but first, I'm going to use okonomiyaki. For okonomiyaki, what I actually like is I like using Otafuku's okonomiyaki sauce. It's this brand. Again, it's a free plug. I'm almost actually going to run out of battery, so I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for coming to another episode of Shota Cooks. But I'm going to keep continuing because it might not run out. And you know what? Might as well try, right? So, cool. All right, that is done cooking. I'm going to go ahead and grab a plate. Let's grab this plate. And go ahead and flip this over. Boom. Boom. Ideally, I'd let this rest for a second. But since we are running out of batteries soon today, we're going to just go ahead and call this a day. I just kind of cut the edges. You know, honestly, it could probably cook more. This is actually a good sign, good way to check it. It's not under, but I think a little bit more would be a beautiful thing. We're gonna add some okonomiyaki sauce right on top of this. I like doing a little extra in the center, and that heat's gonna kind of let that melt down. I'm gonna do a little bit of this. Don't judge me for that. I'm going to do some of this aonori, which is a type of seaweed. And we're going to do some of this kewpie mayo. I actually like to put it in here with a little hole in the bottom so you can get thin, nice lines so it looks real pretty. And we're going to go ahead and add some bonito flakes on top of this.